I'm Dirk Strongman, current resident at Mind Voltage. Welcome. Let's talk a little bit about finding your true self. Okay, and what it is and what isn't. Before I continue, though, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, take a moment right now to do it. Now's your chance. That way you can at the same time activate the notification bell feature and be apprised of our new uploads. Additionally, just below this media player window, the one you're looking at, there's the thumb up icon. Please click on that to easily and instantly share the joy of this channel with others. And finally, just a little further down than that, in the video description area, you will find a donation by PayPal information. Please make a note of it. Okay, well, I see. I just, in the last couple of days, maybe last night, got a notion to, once again, see what videos pop up here on YouTube. You know, if I just, YouTube search for how to find your true self, something like that. And I did. That's what it was. Yeah. How to find your true self. Because a video had popped up in my queue, something about, psychologists speaking on your authentic self, or something like that. So I watched a few of these. One came up after another, and then I did that search, and I found one or two that way too, and I looked at them, and it was largely psychologists talking. And then a couple other people. I don't remember who they were. But they all had to do with something like, how to get rid of your, your image that you present to the world. Your image. Or acting on beliefs or stating beliefs and then believing them yourself after a while. That doesn't seem to work good for you, at least at first, because it made you look like a team player, something like that, so you could be part of a crowd, or, to keep your friends rather than turning them away because you've changed now, something like this. Okay, just getting rid of that garbage in your life and being more genuine about things. In other words, having some personal integrity. That's what that's another word for it. Being a person who acts and speaks upon beliefs. Okay. That was the extent of it. And they would use terms like your true self interchangeably with authentic self. Sometimes they just stuck with authentic self, and they were just talking about, be a little bit more authentic and genuine about yourself with other people. Don't just put on facades. Okay. I mean, people do this, a lot. They may develop a certain. It's like. Okay, have you heard the term wearing different hats? That guy wears a lot of different hats through the day. He's a father, he's a boss, he's also an employee. At night he teaches an adult class at the local community college. So he's a teacher. He's also faculty, and he's a husband. Oh, and he's deacon at the local Baptist church. Okay. And he's a Boy Scout leader. And he does a little of these things every day. Well, that's wearing a lot of different hats, because there are different aspects of him being brought forth in favor of others in each occasion, a different set. And wearing each one of those different hats. I mean, that's why they are called different hats, because it's the same person wearing all of them, but it's a different side of that person. Now, Some of these may be as much as 90% contrived. You know, a person had to learn to wear these hats as they came along to be put on. You don't just jump into the fatherhood of a 15-year-old child. You don't just hop into that on the first day of having a firstborn. Some of this is adaptation by necessity. To get along with your boss or your coworkers may require some smooching, some kissing ass. Not being true to yourself, but being true to yourself in the workplace. Not being true to yourself in wearing other hats. Okay, so some of this is phony. It becomes an artificial construct. Okay? Or constructs. It becomes artificial constructions of your own making. Okay? Now, this can become just a way of life then. So that a person just loses track of what they really think, how they really feel, how they really act. They all become that. And they're all taken as parts of yourself. But how much of yourself then, or of oneself, is really faked, contrived, made up? In other words, not the real thing. It's just being in situations through the day over which the guy in private might say to a best friend, well, I got up this morning and fooled them all again. I've had that said to me. He says, this guy said, I was delivering pizza to a hotel. It was a trucker. And, no, pizza. Yeah, it was pizza late at night. I don't know, 10:30 or so. Guy came to the door, and there's only one vehicle out. It was kind of out in the country, suburbs, right? There was only one vehicle parked, guest's vehicle, and it was an 18-wheeler sitting out there idling all night. So, yeah, it was this guy, and I asked him, you get a lot of miles in your day, don't you? And he said, yep. And all I'm going to do is eat this pizza and go to bed because I got to get up tomorrow morning and fool them all again. See how many people I can fool. That's what it was. I have to get up early, go out again, and see how many people I can fool. Then that becomes, a way of life for some people, and they don't realize it. So this being authentic, finding your real self, has to do with just, becoming more genuine. In other words, developing a greater ratio of what the hell is it? Personal dignity. And otherwise, dignity is acting and talking upon what you really believe, regardless. Okay, but none of that talk has to do with the real self. Took me a long time to get there, didn't it? I just wanted you to know the contrast. Once I say what the true self is and how to find it. I'm going to do that. I don't want you to get confused with this other talk that I just laid out. Now, interestingly, all of these psychologists using the term true self versus false self, or versus just contrived behavior. To fool them every day. I don't want you to get confused with that, okay? Because that's largely what you're going to find. That kind of talk is largely what you're going to find if you're looking for something like true self, right? And then if you're on a spiritual seeker path, you may look elsewhere for your spiritual development. If you look up true self and you hear what these psychologists are saying about it, the ones I just quickly summarized, you may just go off somewhere else because, well, that didn't have anything in it for me. Yeah, but that's not real spiritual development. That's just psychology. A different way to go on through the day. It's just psychology. That it's just a matter of how you look at it. Well, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for bigger stuff. Okay. That's pop psychology. I'm interested in spirituality. All right. Well, interestingly, my young wife she's doing online community college work. And right now, as a second semester freshman, she's taking Psych 101, Psychology 101, General Psychology. It's called either that or Introduction to Psychology. A freshman course, a first course in psychology. All right, and she just got started in it, and she read to me a unit of study, like a chapter or a section, a unit of study in the course. She was reading me its bullet points, and the question was raised, who are you? Something like that. And the proposed answer to that, or like what we're going to look at when we get to that in this unit, is that you're the same person as you've always been, but you've also changed a lot. You went from crawling to walking. You have learned how to comprehend complex technical material, like all the parts of an engine, things like that. You've changed. You don't look the same, but you're still the same person. Now, there was a very superficial, largely implied reference to the distinction in true self versus a false self. Not in this manner of talk that I laid out that psychologists are saying in public. This is Psych 101. And there's an implication right there. It's a matter of what level what level of perception you read that at. It can be understood very deeply, very spiritually. The essence of the matter of life for us on this planet, as humans. Or it can be just taken to mean, of course I'm the same person. I mean, like, I was 6, now I'm 50. That's me. Yeah. Yeah, I was the kid who was afraid to go outside with shorts on. Now I wear marionette. Yeah, that's me. I changed. Yeah, me the whole time. Okay, there's that. Pretty obvious. There shouldn't be any strange or outlandish information for anybody to hear. No, we all know that, right? All men know that. But there is another level of interpreting, understanding those same words, that same distinction made in that unit objectives, synopsis or preview in a Psych 101 course. Wow. So here's the much deeper and actual spiritual. This is as spiritual as it gets, folks. There is really, right down at the core of being, our being, there is literally, factually, a real thing, for lack of a better word for it. It's not really a thing, but we're just gonna have to call it a thing because I don't know what else to call it. A non-thing, not a no nothing, but a no thing. Right? There is a true self. It's not just a different way of thinking about the same old thing. Yourself. Like, get some more, not dignity. Did I say personal dignity? I got it right, I think, the first time. Personal integrity, that's what it is. Excuse me. Remember back when I said personal dignity? I think I made that error of word choice. Incorrect word. It's personal integrity. Integrity in yourself, like speaking and acting in accordance with your beliefs. Okay, now where was I? Where was I now? Darn it. Yes, there actually is such a thing. A hint into it, or a window into that level of understanding those words, that distinction made in that Psych 101 book. A window into it is a glimpse of a real thing. There is a real self. And it is not a matter, it is not discovered simply in the act of developing a little bit more personal integrity in the world. No, not the same thing at all. In comparison with the actual true self and discovering that, discovering the existence of it. In comparison to that, this other thing about, developing a little bit more personal integrity in your life, in comparison, well then that's nothing. Trite and trivial. Yeah. Small thing. So, what is this true self? The reason we have this surface idea, that was me back then, that was on me, yeah, same me, but I'm different now. That talk, the first half of that, that was me. Yeah, I'm the same person. Is believable and possible due to the fact that there is such a thing. It is that it's pretty easy and surfacely comprehended if I were to say, it's that thing you call I, when you say I this, I that. At any point in your life, you're talking about the same I every time. Yeah, that sounds a lot like the first way I put it. Yeah, that was me. I'm still me. But there is a real I. I'm talking about a totally different level. This is a different level of discourse I'm using here suddenly now. There really is such a thing. And it is not a simple matter. Discovering it, or referring to it with belief yourself, or with self-knowledge about it, it is. I forget the end of my sentence now. I'm really sleepy. All right, here's the easiest. It's the most difficult thing for people to find. It is not easy. Like, yeah, that was me. No, it's perhaps the most difficult thing for a human being to find out about himself or herself. It is nature's big secret as far as humanity is concerned, really. It is the damnedest thing to discover. It is very elusive because our attention and our perceptions, the content of those, have to do with things that are changing in us or outside of us. Things that are changing. Those are the things that we can recognize. Change. Things that are moving. If there is something inside of us that's just not moving, not changing, regardless of circumstances, regardless of changes around it, how are we going to notice it? It doesn't have a look. It doesn't have a sound. There's no mental image involved with it. All of those things involve something changing, right? Something in a certain state at the moment. A certain, snapshot of something changing, if it's a still shot in your head. All connected with things that change. Things, in other words. Stuff. Things, and then things about the things. How are you going to notice something that doesn't fit in there about yourself? Just what you can really say about it is that it is. Or put it in first person present tense, I am. About all it can be said. Otherwise, you're talking about aspects of oneself, perhaps wrapped right around that, directly around it, like down there close to it, but that change. All right. Now, if you can recognize the existence of that aspect of you, that is the root fact of the matter that gives rise to the believableness of, yeah, that was me the whole time. That kind of thinking with that statement. There is really such a thing. And that thing, that is the true self. None of the rest is. None of the rest is. Not being, acting out of a sense of personal integrity or acting out of a sense of seeing how many you can fool every day. Neither one of those. They're almost the same thing in comparison to what I'm talking about. They don't even come close. No. I mean, either way, you're talking about things that, are changing, right? No. No. Both of those are pretty far away from the true self. In their, by nature. Right? Their ontological state of affairs, if you know what that means. Okay. I just want you to be aware of this. There's a lot of talk about the true self, how to find it, how to discover your inner self, by psychologists, okay? Who probably forgot that kind of a statement in their 101 class years ago, if such a statement were made. And it probably was. And it was just taught and learned right then as a very surface thing. We all know this, but we're going to delve into it. And then they talk about being more genuine to yourself. Probably. Or, yeah, it was you, but you've changed. Whether it would usually be in the context of developmental psychology, the little unit on that, how people develop through life. You'd probably fit in there. All right, well, it's unbelievable. And of course, anybody who's, who thinks that psychologists are just extremely intelligent people, and my God, if anybody knows about this stuff, it's a psychologist. For God's sakes, they know things that nobody else does about the human mind. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're a spiritual seeker, what I'm talking about here, to yourself, that should be the goal of your spiritual searching. Your spiritual, path. But of course it never ends, does it? Well, coming to recognize the existence of the true self is a big deal. Huge. It must be connected with, it must be, in correspondence with, or, accompanied by, switching over to identify with that as who and what you are. And then that means moving away from identifying as who and what you are with all the rest that's changing. Well, that's a big deal. Huge. But that's just the first step in itself. But all of that, starting with that right there, right? And what follows from that? That as a block of things, there's a line that gets crossed. After that, all of that, before that, all of that is the goal, should be the goal of your spiritual journey. You're searching for something? Well, there it is. That's it. But it's not the end of the road. Just after that discovery, everything else now will involve that and confront. Root in it. Root in conscious awareness of that. But then that has, that's the real start of life. That's the real start right there. That's like being born again. Some say that is what born again means. Okay. And how do you find it? How do you discover it? How do you recognize its existence, in other words? Easiest thing I can think of is to come to terms with the existence of a part of you that never changes. Get behind the scenes of what you're referring to when you say something, as superficial or as surficial or pedestrian or just common language, common talk, as, yeah, that was me the whole time. Let that be your doorway or your window into there actually being this part of you that doesn't change. Therefore, it is at total peace. There's not a lot you can really say about it other than it is, because it's not moving, it's not changing, it's constant. And it is what is denoted by the phrase I am, by the name I am, by the description I am, by the statement of fact I am. I exist. And that I is the same I all the damn time. Recognizing its existence is discovering it, but that's not the end. There's more, lots more. There's making it real for you, not just discovering it as a potential thing, making it actual, like coming to identify with it, consciously experiencing that. That's making it real for you. Well, then there's a matter of bringing forth in the world the closest spiritual characteristics to it out into the world with conscious awareness of your true self being the center of it, of all the chains that surround it. And none of that is you now. No. That's making it real. And then manifesting it is bringing out the qualities that are closest to it. Like love for humanity, for example. Well, then that's just part of... There's more. There's more. It's relationship. It's utter dependent. Its existence is utter dependence on its source, its creator, its parent, its... the I am behind the entire manifested cosmos, which is still I am. There is no, without a manifested cosmos. The causeless cause, the first cause, the absolute. What? There are those things too. It goes on and on. I don't want you to get deceived, misled, bamboozled, hoodwinked, have the wool pulled over your eyes, especially by people who you might think should know what they're talking about. It's as simple as that. All of this stuff about, developing personal integrity, aka discovering your real self, any of this, all of these other tips and tricks in life, life hacks, existential hacks, are fine and dandy only to the extent that they are direct steps toward true selfhood. Planned out and self-managed for that purpose. If they're not serving toward that end, intentionally and willfully by you, then they shouldn't be part of your spiritual path. You don't need any of them, though, to recognize the only part of you that never changes. None of that stuff's a requirement, really. But if it's going to help, because, for some people, discovering the existence of that aspect of their being can be the biggest challenge they'll ever face. For others, it may come easily. So if intermediate steps are required to get there, then they should be well planned out, and that can be hard to do too. Finding out what are the necessary steps. Now for me, in what prerequisite steps must I engage and execute? And in what order? Which ones in sequence? Which ones can I do in parallel with one another? How can I have the cumulative result be the recognition of the existence of my true self? Then they are good stepping stones. Don't let any such thing become a stumbling block for you, okay? And there's a big difference. The spiritual journey is easier said than done, sure. But it really is as simple as I just put it. Stick to the goal. Don't get distracted. Don't settle for less. Okay. I'm now in a position where I can repeat. If you haven't subscribed to this, excuse me, glasses need cleaned. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, now's your chance. Go ahead and do it right now. That way, at the same time, you can activate the notification bell for easier to be apprised of our new uploads. Immediately below this media player window, yours, you'll see the thumb up icon. Please click on that right now to instantly and easily share the joy of this channel. And finally, just a little further down in the video description area, you will find a donation by PayPal information. Please make a note of it. I'm Turk Strawman, current resident at Mind Voltage. Be well.